Lauren Mitchell. Lauren Mitchell always believed family came first. That's what she was taught. That's what she lived by. She drove 4 hours back to her parents' house after her mother called it a small family get-together. Lauren almost didn't go. She had work deadlines, exhaustion, and a quiet voice inside her telling her to stay home. But guilt won, it always did. From the moment she walked through the door, she felt it. The looks. The comments disguised as jokes. The way her life choices were casually dissected at the dinner table. You're still at that job? You really think you can make it on your own? We just worry about you, they said right after reminding her how disappointed they were. Lauren smiled. She always smiled. That was her role. She paid for dinner. She helped clean up. She listened while everyone else talked over her. At one point, she realized something painful. No one asked how she was doing. Not really. Later that night, lying awake in her childhood bedroom, Lauren stared at the ceiling she had once dreamed under. Back then, she imagined freedom, success, and being seen. Somewhere along the way, those dreams had been replaced by expectations that were never hers. Her phone buzzed. A message from her mother, already criticizing something she said earlier. That's when it happened. Not anger. Not tears. Clarity. Lauren whispered to herself, barely audible in the dark. I can't keep doing this. For the first time in her life, she didn't feel weak for thinking it. She felt honest. And that scared her more than anything else. The next morning, Lauren woke up before everyone else. The house was quiet, the kind of quiet that made old memories feel louder. She stood in the kitchen holding a cup of coffee she didn't really want, staring out the window at a place that never felt like home anymore. She rehearsed conversations in her head, things she wanted to say, things she never had the courage to say before. But every time she imagined speaking up, she could already hear the responses. You're too sensitive. We're only trying to help. You should be grateful. By the time the rest of the family came downstairs, Lauren had already decided one thing. She wasn't going to explain herself today. At breakfast, the comments started again. Her career. Her independence. Her attitude. Her mother sighed loudly, shaking her head. We just don't recognize you anymore, she said. That sentence landed harder than anything else. Lauren finally looked up. I didn't know I was supposed to stay the same forever, she replied, calm but firm. The table went silent. Her father cleared his throat. Someone laughed nervously. Her mother stared at her like she had just broken an unspoken rule. You're being disrespectful, her mother said. Lauren felt her heart racing, but she didn't back down. No, she said quietly. I'm being honest. For the first time, she didn't apologize after speaking. She didn't soften her words. She didn't smile to make anyone comfortable. And that's when she saw it. They weren't upset because she was wrong. They were upset because she was no longer controllable. After breakfast, Lauren packed her bag faster than planned. No dramatic goodbye. No speeches. Just the weight of a lifetime sitting on her shoulders. As she walked out the door, her mother called after her. Don't make this a mistake. Lauren paused, hand on the doorknob. She didn't turn around. Because for the first time, walking away didn't feel like losing something. It felt like choosing herself. 4 months passed. Lauren's life didn't suddenly become perfect, but it became hers. She built routines that felt right. Morning walks. Late-night work sessions fueled by purpose instead of pressure. Friends who listened without correcting her. Silence that no longer needed to be filled. For the first time, she wasn't surviving, she was growing. One afternoon, Lauren received an unexpected email. It was from her father. Short, careful, unfamiliar. I've been thinking a lot. I didn't realize how much we asked of you without asking how you felt. Lauren stared at the screen for a long time. Not because she didn't want reconciliation, but because she no longer needed it to feel whole. She replied honestly, without anger and without surrendering herself. I love you, but I need a relationship that respects who I am now, not who you wanted me to be. There was no immediate response. And that was okay. That evening, Lauren stood in front of the mirror and barely recognized the woman looking back at her. Not because she had changed everything, but because she had finally stopped hiding. She smiled. Not the polite smile she used to wear. A real one. Some people lose themselves trying to keep peace. Lauren learned that peace doesn't come from pleasing others. It comes from standing firm in your truth. And whatever came next, reconciliation or distance, she knew one thing for sure. She would never abandon herself again. The meeting happened on a quiet Sunday afternoon. Lauren chose the cafe. Neutral ground. No memories. No power dynamics. When her parents walked in, she noticed something immediately. They looked older. Not weak, just human. For the first time, she didn't feel like a child sitting across from authority. She felt like an equal. They talked slowly. No accusations. No raised voices. Her mother spoke first. "We didn't know how to let you be different without feeling like we were losing you." Lauren nodded. "I wasn't trying to leave you. I was trying to find myself." That sentence changed everything. Her father admitted what he had never said before: fear. Fear of losing control. Fear of watching her fail. Fear disguised as guidance. Lauren listened. Not to fix them, but to understand. And when it was her turn, she spoke clearly. "I can be close to you without giving up who I am. But if I have to choose, I'll choose myself every time." There were tears. There was silence. But there was also acceptance. Not perfect. Not complete. Real. When the meeting ended, Lauren walked out alone, just like she had walked in. But this time, she didn't feel like she was walking away from family. She was walking toward a life built on honesty. That night, she wrote one final line in her journal. Saying no didn't break my family. It saved me. Lauren Mitchell went to sleep knowing this chapter was closed. Not with anger, but with strength. Prat 6. A year later, Lauren barely recognized the life she once lived. Not because everything had changed, but because she had. She had moved into a new apartment with sunlight pouring through the windows every morning. Her work finally reflected her talent, not just her obedience. People listened when she spoke now, and more importantly, she listened to herself. Her relationship with her parents existed, but on new terms. No surprise visits. No guilt-driven decisions. No emotional bargaining. Some conversations were warm. Some were distant. And that was okay. Lauren learned that healing doesn't mean going back to the way things were, it means moving forward without carrying old wounds. One evening, she was invited to speak at a small community event. Nothing fancy. Just a room full of people who had felt unheard at some point in their lives. She stood at the front, hands slightly shaking, and said, "I didn't lose my family when I said no. I found myself." And that changed everything. The room went quiet. Lauren smiled, not for approval, but from certainty. Later that night, she walked home alone under city lights, feeling something she had never felt before. Peace. Not the kind that comes from avoiding conflict, but the kind that comes from choosing truth even when it's hard. Lauren Mitchell knew one thing now. Her story wasn't about rebellion. It wasn't about walking away. It was about finally standing still and refusing to disappear. Years later, Lauren understood something she couldn't see back then. The hardest part wasn't saying no. It was trusting herself after years of being told she was wrong. Life moved forward quietly. She built a career she was proud of, not because it impressed anyone, but because it fulfilled her. She learned when to let people in and when to protect her peace without explanation. Her parents were still part of her life, but no longer at the center of it. Love existed without control. Distance existed without guilt. Everything finally had its place. One evening, Lauren received a message from a stranger. "Your story helped me leave a life that was breaking me. Thank you." She stared at the screen, heart heavy in the best way. That's when she realized her story was never just hers. It belonged to every person who felt invisible. Every person who was taught silence instead of self-worth. Every person who thought choosing themselves was selfish. Lauren smiled and closed her laptop. Some stories don't end with applause. They end with clarity. And clarity, she learned, was freedom in its purest form. Lauren Mitchell didn't become fearless. She became honest. And that changed everything. Lauren didn't plan to tell her story again. But one quiet afternoon, sitting at her desk, she opened a blank document and started typing. Not for an audience. Not for validation. Just to leave something honest behind. She wrote about fear. About guilt disguised as love. About the moment she realized that staying silent was costing her more than speaking up ever could. When she finished, she didn't reread it. She hit save. Life continued simple, grounded, real. Lauren learned that happiness isn't loud. It doesn't announce itself. It shows up in choices that feel aligned, in relationships that don't demand pieces of you in exchange for love. One day, a younger coworker asked her, "How did you learn to be so sure of yourself?" Lauren paused. "I stopped asking for permission," she said. "Especially to be who I already was." That night, walking home under familiar city lights, Lauren felt something deeper than peace. Trust. Not in people. Not in outcomes. In herself. And if there was one thing she knew for certain now, it was this. Saying no didn't end her story. It finally allowed it to begin. Lauren Mitchell walked forward. Not chasing approval. Not carrying the past. But grounded in a life she chose.